If a Nintendo game was cancelled in the mid to late 90s, there's a good chance it was because it was being developed for the Nintendo 64 DD, a disk drive expansion for the Nintendo 64 that was only released in Japan in 1999, and didn't leave Japan due to it being a financial and commercial failure. Due to the expansion being discontinued less than a year after its release, many games had their development moved over from the disk drive over to the regular Nintendo 64. This included games such as Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, Mario Party 2, and Pokemon Snap, just to name a few. Some games though were not so lucky, as with the discontinuation of the N64 DD came the cancellation of their development. Some games just wouldn't have worked without the disk drive's extra features, so they were either completely scrapped or ported over to other consoles such as the PlayStation 1. Today we're going to be talking about one of those 64 disk drive games that met with the terrible fate of cancellation. A little title known as Pocket Monsters 64. The existence of Pocket Monsters 64 was first revealed to the world in the June 1997 issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly via an interview with gaming legend Shigeru Miyamoto, where he spoke about the Nintendo 64 DD's launch. He was quoted saying, "The launch titles for this system will be Mother 3, Pocket Monsters 64, Mario Paint, SimCity, and one more that is currently confidential." When asked specifically about Pocket Monsters 64 by the interviewer, Miyamoto replied, "This game will be released on the Nintendo 64 disk drive. There are currently 10 people working on it. It will be released in Japan, but I'm not sure about the US." Pocket Monsters 64 was believed to be the first ever home console RPG in the Pokemon franchise, and I'm sure this magazine interview left thousands of Pokemon fans anticipating the innovations the jump from the Game Boy to the N64 could bring to the series. But when Nintendo's gaming trade show, Space World, came around in November of that same year, Pocket Monsters 64 was nowhere to be found, with the only Pokemon games being shown off at the event being Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, and an early prototype of Pokemon Gold and Silver. From that moment on, Pocket Monsters 64 was never mentioned officially ever again. However, it's likely that whatever battle elements that had been developed by those 10 people who Shigeru Miyamoto said had been working on the game were likely transferred over to Pokemon Stadium, and whatever RPG elements they had worked on were likely transferred over to Pokemon Gold and Silver. So although Pocket Monsters 64 itself didn't appear at Space World 1997, it's likely that bits and pieces of it did appear within those two games, since they were all in development at the same time. For years after the cancellation of Pocket Monsters 64, Game Freak developer Junichi Masuda reiterated time and time again that the Pokemon RPGs will always remain on handheld devices and would never make the jump to home consoles, like with what was originally planned with Pocket Monsters 64. These statements seem quite ironic these days, with the latest main series Pokemon RPGs, Pokemon Sword and Shield, being on the Nintendo Switch, a handheld home console hybrid. I guess in a way you could say that with Pokemon Sword and Shield, the original vision for Pocket Monsters 64, a main series 3D Pokemon RPG on a home console, has finally been met. For the record, I do know there was Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon Gale of Darkness on the GameCube. I'm literally playing through Colosseum for the first time at the minute, and I'm using it as a backdrop to some of this video. But those games were spin-offs, and I'd say they are very different to traditional Pokemon RPGs, and weren't developed by Game Freak. And with that tangent, let's finish off here. Let me know in the comments how you think Pocket Monsters 64 would have turned out if it finished development and was actually released. Do you think it would have been an amazing follow-up to Pokemon Red and Blue, or do you think it would have been a total disaster? Also, if you enjoy these sorts of lost media videos, I've got an entire playlist full of them over on my channel, so be sure to check them out if you love all things lost media and Pokemon just as much as me. Oh, and be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more in the future. It really helps out a lot. I've been Cheesy Boy, and thanks again for watching. Peace.